Right now at 11, documents rarely released are now made available to the public. What they reveal about this Maryland man whose deportation case captured the nation's attention.
Plus, the return to RFK may finally be a reality. A multi-billion-dollar deal is in the works to bring the Commanders back to the district. We break down that hefty price tag and have new reaction from community members tonight. Doug?
Yeah, I love that one. Out there tonight, you may not love this. A frost advisory in effect for most of the area west of I-95. A cold morning start, but some much better weather moving in.
Then a local car dealer made an urgent recommendation.
Buy a car now so you can get the car you want with the right equipment and the right model.
Time is running out to beat the tariffs on foreign cars. What you should know before you wait to buy.
News 4 at 11 starts now.
First tonight, the Trump administration's efforts to justify the removal of a Maryland man to a detention facility in El Salvador now includes the release of some documents normally never made public in the case of a Prince George's County father, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, that has captured the nation. Tonight, the White House is doubling down on claims that Abrego Garcia is a member of a gang. Thank you for joining us. I'm Jim Adley.
I'm Sean Yancey. The document release came as Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador, but was not permitted to meet or speak with Abrego Garcia. News 4's Jackie Benson has the latest on what we know tonight.
The tweet on the official Department of Homeland Security X account contains images of a temporary protective order issued against Kilmar Abrego Garcia in May of 2021. In Maryland, such documents are generally not publicly available, but the court posted them after reporters inquired. A written statement by his wife, Jennifer Vasquez-Sora, accuses him of domestic violence, beating, scratching, and punching her in anger on multiple occasions. Court documents note the restraining order expired a month later because Vasquez-Sora failed to appear at the proceeding. Those documents were released by DHS just hours after another set. A final order from an immigration judge issued October 10, 2019. It gave Kilmar Abrego Garcia the legal status to remain in the United States. On page 2 at the bottom, it says, Exhibit 4 is a Prince George's County Police Department gang field interview sheet. It was issued for the limited purpose of showing that the respondent was labeled a gang member by law enforcement. The attorney who represented Kilmar Abrego Garcia in that proceeding says the field interview was written by Officer Ivan Mendez, who claimed a confidential source came forward to say Kilmar Abrego Garcia was a member of MS-13. He also said the Chicago Bulls hat he was wearing was proof of gang membership. In a high-profile 2020 press conference, Prince George's County's then police chief announced that Mendez himself had been suspended after being indicted for misconduct for providing confidential police information to a prostitute he was paying for sex. Mendez was fired after being convicted. The documents come as Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador, hoping to get an update of Abrego Garcia's welfare and possibly meet with him. The request was denied.
If you listen to President Trump and the Trump administration, you would think that the U.S. courts have found that Mr. Abrego Garcia is part of MS-13, but in fact, they have not found that.
Van Hollen says other members of Congress plan to visit the facility. Jackie Benson, News 4.
Tonight, NBC News received a statement from Kilmar Abrego Garcia's wife regarding the temporary protective order she filed against him 4 years ago. Jennifer Vasquez-Sora's statement said in part, after surviving domestic violence in a previous relationship, I acted out of caution after a disagreement with Kilmar by seeking a civil protective order in case things escalated. Things did not escalate, and I decided not to follow through with the civil court process. We were able to work through this situation privately as a family, including by going to counseling. Our marriage only grew stronger in the years that followed. No one is perfect, and no marriage is perfect. This is not a justification for ICE's action of abducting him and deporting him to a country where he was supposed to be protected from deportation. End quote.
President Trump's controversial mass deportation policy is in the spotlight. A federal judge is now threatening to hold the administration in criminal contempt over deportation flights to El Salvador.
Now, it comes as viral video released today of a violent ICE arrest in Boston gives us a glimpse of how intense these arrests have become. News 4's Ariel Hickson joins us now live with the very latest on the story. Ariel?
Well, that's right. Tonight, a federal judge has found cause to hold the Trump administration in contempt of court all over deportation flights sent to El Salvador. In a written opinion, U.S. District Judge James Boasberg says the government's actions demonstrate a willful disregard for its order to stop deportations of undocumented immigrants under the Alien Enemies Act. Boasberg further explains the Trump administration could purge the contempt finding by taking custody of the people it deported and giving them hearings. In response, White House Communications Director Stephen Chung posted on X saying the president is 100% committed to ensuring that terrorists and criminal illegal migrants are no longer a threat to Americans and their communities across the country. The White House says it will seek immediate appellate relief from Judge Boasberg's decision, and Boasberg says the White House has a week to give migrants sent to El Salvador a chance to challenge their deportations in court. It also comes as viral video of a violent ICE arrest in Massachusetts is raising alarms. Take a look. Federal immigration agents smashed through a car window right here. You can hear along. A steel pickaxe was used just to get through and get to arrest Juan Mendez, a Guatemalan immigrant. Now, once they actually got by that car, you can see that his wife and he himself are still inside. Mendez's wife says that the agents left without explaining why they were arrested. She also claims the officials were asking for someone else, but arrested Mendez anyway. According to his lawyer, Mendez arrived from Guatemala 2 years ago and has an asylum case with no criminal record or deportation order. Sean?
Ariel Hickson with the latest for us. Thank you, Ariel. Stay with News 4 for the very latest updates on the Trump administration's immigration enforcement policies. We're working for you to make sense of the changing policies and the challenges in court. When we're not on air, you can find our coverage on NBCWashington.com and in the NBC Washington app. Just search immigration.
First on for tonight, the district is one step closer to a deal, a big deal, to bring football back to Washington, D.C. Multiple sources tell News 4 that D.C. and the Commanders have the framework for a deal in place to bring the team back to D.C. and build a brand new stadium at RFK. And we're talking some big numbers here, folks. The plan could be worth more than $3 billion. Our Mark Seagraves was the first to break this story on social media today. He starts off our team coverage tonight.
First, it's important to point out this is not a done deal. Negotiations are still fluid, so these numbers could change. But multiple sources familiar with the negotiations tell News 4 that Mayor Bowser and the team have a framework of a deal in place that would see the team paying the vast majority of the cost to build the stadium and the district putting up money for infrastructure that would support the entire 180-acre campus. Documents obtained by News 4 say the team would put as much as $2.5 billion toward the construction of a new stadium, while the city would put as much as $850 million toward mostly infrastructure supporting the entire complex, including the parking structures. According to documents, the money that the district would go toward what is called, quote, eligible capital costs associated with the stadium and infrastructure. Now, the district's investment would be paid in installments, the first $500 million between 2026 and 2030, with the portions of the money being paid as the stadium and infrastructure are completed. That additional $350 million would not be paid until 2032 and would be financed through taxes imposed and collected on businesses and residents that are built on that site. The deal calls for the stadium and the parking facility to be completed by 2030. The team owner, Josh Harris, has been clear he wants the new stadium and ready for kickoff on the first day of the season of 2030. So we're still a long way from this being a done deal, and some of these numbers are in flux and could change before we get to the end, to the goal line, as it were. But what we do know is that this is moving very quickly, that the city and the team are in very serious negotiations and seem to be very close to a final deal that will probably be announced within a month, if not sooner.
All right, Mark, thank you. The Commanders could have that new stadium by 2030. Now, News 4 was the first to tell you this afternoon that D.C. and the Commanders are close to making that $3 billion deal for the new stadium site at the RFK site. But before you get too excited about this, there is some pushback from a group of residents who would rather see that space turned into affordable housing. News 4's Jessica Albert spoke with that group today.
The deal to bring the Commanders back to RFK Stadium is almost to the end zone. News 4's Mark Seagraves broke the news of a whopping $3 billion deal that the team and the district are still ironing out. But there's a group trying to block it.
I honestly just feel like the public should not have to foot the bill of a billionaire's playground.
They're called homes, not stadiums, and they just filed paperwork with the D.C. Board of Elections to get an initiative put on the 2026 primary ballot that would prevent the team from building on the 180-acre campus.
Basically rezone this land to prohibit any professional sports arenas from being built, and instead for prioritizing affordable housing.
Documents obtained by News 4 show the Commanders plan to put up as much as $2.5 billion, and the city would chip in up to $850 million to build infrastructure and parking lots. The team's owner wants everything to be finished for the 2030 season. Fans are excited.
It's about time that they do something about it, and I'm glad to see that the Commanders are trying to come back.
I think it'll bring some business. I think it'll redevelop some of this stuff that's been dormant for a long time.
But the terms of the deal still not sitting well with homes, not stadiums.
A new stadium is not going to benefit the community. We're not going to see the money from it. That all goes to the owner.
Now that the paperwork has been turned in, the next step is for the Board of Elections to review it. If it is approved, the group will then be able to start collecting signatures. In the district, Jessica Albert, News 4.
We reached out to the Commanders and Mayor Bowser. Mayor Bowser's office told us they do not have any comment on the deal nor the ballot initiative, and we are still waiting to hear back from the Commanders.
We're just getting started here on News 411 tonight. Beautiful day, but breezy too. You better keep that jacket close by tomorrow morning.
Yeah, Chief Meteorologist Doug Kammer is tracking a very chilly start to your Thursday, Doug.
Yeah, we're going to start off on the cold side, but the cold air retreats quickly. The warm air moves back in, and we're back into the 80s as we head towards the weekend. Some really nice numbers coming our way after a very cold start tomorrow. Much more on that coming up in just a minute.
Can't wait to hear about those 80s. All right, plus the rush to buy a new ride before the tariffs kick in. The impacts of the trade war are already being felt at our car dealerships. How much more those prices could go up by this summer.
Then changing the lights outside a D.C. landmark. The new look coming to the Kennedy Center for the foreseeable future. When we come right back, stay up with us.